Okay. So, good morning, Venkat, and I am Amit, and I have a total
Good morning.
experience of 5 plus. And
Okay.
from the beginning of my career, I am just working only on Oracle Identity Governance. So far, I have worked on 11G R1, 11G R2, PS1, PS2, and PS3. All these versions of Oracle Identity Manager. So today,
Okay.
in this particular course on Oracle Identity Manager, we are going to start from the very basic and then we are gradually moving into the advanced topic of Oracle
Okay.
Identity Manager. Okay?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the course agenda is first we are going to look into the overview of Oracle Identity Manager where we'll look into the different consoles and all and the basic
Okay.
terminologies which are used in Oracle Identity Manager.
Okay.
Then we are going to learn about start and stop the complete OIM service. Before that, I have
Okay.
just missed one thing. I am also going to install and configure Oracle Identity Manager along with BI Publisher. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Then we will look into the provisioning and reconciliation methodologies which are
Okay.
there in Oracle Identity Manager.
Okay.
Then we are going to look into the different kind of forms like child form, parent form, and all these things.
Okay. Like process form, object
Yeah,
form.
correct. Then we are going to look into application instance. This is a new term which was introduced from 11G R2 onwards.
Okay.
Before 11G R2, there was nothing called as application instance in Oracle Identity Manager. So we'll look into the definition and what feature application instance is providing us in Oracle Identity Manager. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Then we will look into the various kind of lookups which are there
Okay.
for Oracle Identity Manager. Then,
Lookups in the sense the fields which are displaying in the form, right?
yeah, but it can be many things. Like let's say there is a entitlement, and
Okay.
the entitlement has been defined to give a user access to a database, and
Okay.
there is a debug connector installed in between OIM and the database. Now let's say
Okay.
if I name the entitlement in the OIM, I am naming or I am giving a human readable name like DBA privileges for user. But in the database, the role name which is defined to that corresponding entitlement is like 1234 underscore execute database. Let's say something like that.
Okay.
Then we are going
Huh.
to store all these coding and decoding values inside a lookup so that you will try to whenever a end user is trying to provision for that particular entitlement, he is going to see the name as entitlement which is going to give you the privilege for database DBA. But when the
Okay.
OIM is going to insert that user in that particular role, since since this particular human readable name is not available in target system, it is going to use the name which was defined inside the target system, that is 1234 underscore execute database.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
we are going to store values in the lookups in simple terms,
Okay.
which OIM is going
Okay.
to utilize it. Now, then
Okay.
we will look into the access policies. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
in the access policy, we'll look into various things like what are access policy, what is access policy harvesting and all. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Then we are going to look into the approval policy. Generally,
Okay. That is
generally,
workflow, right? Policy.
sorry.
That is workflow, right?
Yeah,
Approval policy in the sense.
yeah. That is what sort of business rule or business logic a particular
Huh.
approval or a request is going to follow.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
in 11G R1 and R2 up to PS2, there was a concept of approval policy, but in PS3, Oracle renamed this approval policy with approval workflow.
Huh.
Okay, so we'll look deep dive into all those changes that happened with
Okay.
11GR to PS3. Then we are going
Okay.
to look into disconnected applications.
Okay.
So basically,
Disconnected applications in the sense uh, without using connectors or
yeah,
some hardware devices.
basically disconnected applications refers to those applications for that there is no connector at all is defined. Means we can't define a
Okay.
connector. There we need a
Okay.
manual or human intervention.
Okay. Through Java code adapters and all these things, we used to design the connector and we used to connect with the disconnector application, right?
No, that is a custom connector. Let's say I have a requirement like this. I joined a company. I am a freshly
Okay.
new joined. Then after 5 or 6 days, I was allocated to a project. Now, when
Okay.
I have when I have been allocated to a project, I went to the ODC. Now I have
Okay.
no computer and all the no computer VoIP and VoIPs are assigned to me. Then what I am going to
Okay.
do? I am going to raise a request in the portal. Now my manager is going to approve it, and once approval is done, the there are few service line in all the company, like few people are managing about the facility or
Okay.
the technical things. They are going to carry the computer with their own and they are going to set up in my desk, right? This is the general procedure.
Yes.
Now,
Yes. Yes.
can OIM automate this process?
Okay.
I have a question for you. Can OIM automate this process completely?
Yeah.
How?
Uh,
Can OIM
that
bring
is
the computer to my desk?
no.
No.
We can raise a service request through this.
We can raise the
I
service
mean,
request through this.
service request. Yes.
Till that part, OIM will help us. But at the end, does OIM is going to provide me that resource? No. For that,
No.
OIM needs some manual intervention. Means he is going to raise a ticket in the bucket of the technical team, and they are going to send
Yes.
a person who is carrying the computer, and he is going to set up the PC in my office or cabin,
Cubicle. Okay.
right?
Okay. Yes.
So,
Yes.
so this is the concept of disconnected application, where
Okay.
OIM is unable to provision the resource in the target system.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Then we are going to look into the connectors.
Okay.
Then we are going to understand some of the out of the box schedulers. And there are
Okay.
many schedulers which you should know in very depth. Like many people have been worked on in catalog synchronization, right? But
Yes. Yes.
what are all the things which we can achieve using the catalog synchronization? For example, let's say if I would ask you, Venkat, can you please update the metadata which are available in the
Okay.
catalog of 5 entitlements using catalog synchronization
Okay.
schedulers? Using these schedulers, I am saying
Okay.
you to update some of the metadata of the catalog entities. So are you aware about catalog?
Haha.
Because this is a new
Yes.
concept.
Yes.
Okay, then it's okay.
I mean, just I know the overview about the catalog. It will shows the it will displays the application instance and roles and entitlements, right?
Yeah, correct.
For the user to select.
Yes, that what are all the roles, application instance, and alls are defined inside a OIM
Huh.
for which user
Yes.
can request.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we can achieve many things using catalog synchronization. So we will go into the deep dive of catalog synchronization, entitlement assignment, entitlement list, sunset and sunrise of
Okay.
schedulers and all. That how these schedulers are basically working.
Okay.
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 Then we are going to understand the database tables.
Okay. Like USR table
like
and
USR
the
table,
auditing tables and all these things, right?
auditing table, roles table, entitlements table,
Roles tables.
request,
Ha.
reconciliation, so that if anything you want to do, or if you want to fetch some report or audit data from the database itself, you can fetch those things.
Okay. Okay.
Then we'll move into the advanced topic where we are going to integrate OIM with a LDAP server,
Okay.
OIM with a Unix server,
Okay.
OIM with database,
Okay.
and then we are going to add few of the custom attributes in OIM, like
Uh, like,
let's say in the user form of the user, or in the user attribute, I want to add something called working hours, a new attribute inside
okay.
OIM.
Like in the user details, if I want to display the working hours,
Yes,
so we are adding those attributes in the OIM, right?
OIM. Along with that, let's say
Okay.
in the catalog you want to add some details, some more details, or some more fields. It's basically
Okay.
related with adding custom attributes inside OIM using
Okay.
the Web Composer. So Web Composer is a new
Okay.
framework, or it's a tool which is going to help us in order to run the application development framework. So basically
Okay.
all the Oracle applications are using
Okay.
a UI. For UI, they are using
Okay.
application development framework, and this entire
Okay.
framework has been designed using Java Enterprise Edition.
Okay.
Okay, so if you are good in J2EE, you will be able to understand everything. Okay, it's
Okay.
basically some
Okay.
sort of web designing and all. When you want to
Okay.
do some custom attribute, or you want to modify the look and feel of OIM itself, like changing the logo and all.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll look into all
In
those.
earlier versions, we used to design the same things in the Java coding, right?
Yes, correct.
Ha. Okay. Okay.
Then we'll look into the UI customization basic also. Okay,
Okay.
basically adding custom attribute
Okay.
is the basic thing, and then we are going to extend those things with the UI customization. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
then I am going to move into some of the OIM API basics. These are
Okay.
nothing but Oracle provide the developer to use these application programming interface in order to achieve, or in order to do some sort of automation, or some sort of
Okay.
they are going to utilize these API in order to write a schedulers, in order to write a adapter and all these things.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so this is the entire module. So any questions so far?
Okay. No. No.
Okay, so we are going to start the module 1 today. So in the module
Okay.
1, we are going to look into the overview about Oracle Identity Manager, and
Okay.
then we are look into different consoles which are available in Oracle Identity Manager, like Identity Console, System Admin Console,
Okay. Okay.
EM Console, where you can manage or see the server status and all, then WebLogic Console and all.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with the overview about Oracle Identity Manager. So I'm going to start from the very basic, and then in the next class onward we are going to look into the advanced topics. So this session is
Okay.
completely basic, which will help you in order to understand the basic terminologies which are used in Oracle Identity Manager. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so let's say I am going to take a real life example. Let's say you have just completed your graduation and you are lucky enough so that you got selected to a multinational company. Now, for everyone, with every one of us, this thing already happened that prior to our joining, HR is going to ask our details, right?
Yes,
They
yes,
ask us to submit the degree certificate, address details, and all these things. So the question here,
yes, yes.
what the companies do with this particular data?
Normally they used to, uh, they used to collect these details to the form,
Hmm,
and the data entry team used to enter all these details in the HRMS application, in the particular application which HR is using.
correct. So basically, all the organization keeps track of all its employee from where they belongs and what are the details they have, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
So when you provide the information, the data entry team is going to write or feed those data to a HRMS system.
yes.
Now let's say you were working in the same organization for next 5 years. Now it's time to move on to
Okay,
some other company. You have decided
okay,
to resign. Now it's always common with all of us that whenever we want to resign, we are going to inform our HR,
yes,
right?
yes,
Now when you are going to inform to your HR, basically HR is going to mark us disabled in the HRMS system
yes,
that
yes,
this user is about to leave and she is going to set the termination date for the user after a
yes,
negotiation has
yes,
been done, right?
yes, yes,
So OIM is going to manage the entire life cycle of the user from the point of joining till the user exits from the company.
okay,
Till that time, to which resources the user have the access, to which place the user belongs, what are all
okay,
the projects in which the user have already been worked. All these things
okay,
can be managed using Oracle Identity Manager.
okay,
Okay. Basically, it's a central repository from where you can fetch all the data. For example, let's say if I don't have the OIM, let's
okay,
say you don't have the OIM. Now, when I joined the company in 90s era, let's say
okay,
I joined a company called Wipro. Now, when I
okay,
joined a company called Wipro, first I was assigned to a team where the primary skill they were searching or they have been working on was C language. They have to develop some Linux modules and kernels using C language. So this was the first project I have
yes,
worked there. Now
okay,
based on my requirement, they have provided me some server access and all. Now, after working there for 1 year, I switched to some next project, which was in different location, and the primary skill was Java. Okay.
okay,
Now, for this, I also need some different server access. They have provided me, and I have worked there. Now, let's say after 5 years, when I was leaving the company, or let's say when after 3 or 4 years, someone is going to come to you and ask you that I need all the details about this particular user Amit who has been worked here for last 3 years, who have been serving this company for past 3 years. I need all the details to which project he has worked on, to which servers he has some access. Now if
okay,
someone is going to ask you to do this, it's a tedious job for the admin because he need to first call the person or the call the in charge of different office from where he was working for C language. He has to ask him, and then he is going to collect the data from the project manager of that particular team. Then he will
yes,
again come back to the Java team. He is going to follow the same procedure, and
yes, yes,
this thing will take around 10 to 12 days of time in order to fetch this particular information, right?
yes, yes,
Now, if I place OIM in between, what OIM is doing, OIM in the OIM, I have defined different targets. Let's say if a person is working in project A, he needs the access to server 1, server 2, server 3. When a person
Okay.
is assigned to project B, he needs to access to server 5. So using OIM at any point of time, if anyone asks me, "Hey boss, I need the details of this particular employee," he can simply fetch the report from OIM,
Fetch the
right?
yes,
Along
yes,
with that, let's say
yes,
if after 5 days working in the same project I want to leave, OIM will automatically revoke my access from the target system,
yes.
right? So all these things can be
Right, right.
easily automated using this particular tool.
Okay.
So far, is this clear for you?
Yeah, this is clear.
Okay. So basically, OIM is going to manage the entire life cycle of a user from the point of joining till the employee exit from the organization. In the entire life cycle to which resources the user have the access is centrally managed using OIM. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Now let's explore the things a bit. Now let's say so far what happened, you have joined the company and HR feeds your entry in the HRMS system, right?
Yes,
So in the HRMS system, your new employee entry has been created.
yes,
For each of the OIM servers, okay, let's say in a company, one OIM server has been placed. Now for each of the OIM
okay.
server, there should be some trusted source from where the OIM is going to fetch the data and create the users. Do you agree with me?
Yes, yes,
Okay. So HRMS system in most of the companies act as a trusted source for OIM. Trusted source means OIM can blindly believe that the data which is present in the HRMS system is always updated and OIM can trust that data.
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So here comes the first concept in Oracle Identity Manager, that is reconciliation. Now, a reconciliation is basically the process of feeding the data to OIM.
okay,
Okay, means OIM will accept the data from reconciliation. Okay,
okay,
now basically there are two kinds of reconciliation. One is trusted source reconciliation and the other is target source reconciliation. Okay,
okay,
so I will explain you what is a trusted source and what is a target source reconciliation.
okay,
Let's consider the trusted source. Just follow the diagram. Initially, I have two users, user ABC, and after some time, a new user, user DEF, joined the organization. So HR is going to create the user DEF in the HRMS system. Okay. Now, when I am going
okay.
to run the trusted source reconciliation between HRMS system and OIM, what OIM is going to do? OIM is going to update the existing entry user ABC if any updation done in the HRMS system. Along with that,
Okay.
OIM is going to create the new user DEF inside OIM itself.
Yes,
Do you understand what I want to say?
yes, yes. Got it.
Okay.
Haha, got it.
Now let's move to the target source reconciliation. Now in the target source reconciliation, let's say here not HRMS system but some different system. Okay. Now,
Okay,
now when I am running the target reconciliation, the same scenario as trusted source, but OIM is not going to create the user DEF. is going to update the user ABC, but it's not create the user DEF. This is
Okay.
called target source reconciliation, where OIM cannot believe, or OIM doesn't have that trust level in order to create the new user DEF.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the basic difference between trusted and target source reconciliation.
Okay. Amit, here I'm having one doubt.
Yes.
So, in a particular system, like whatever the environment it might be,
Mm-hmm.
whether HRMS will be the trusted and target, not only HRMS. Let's consider some application XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose if we are using that application as a trusted,
Okay.
okay. So can we make it as a target also?
No, for a particular application, we have to decide either that application is trusted or target. We cannot make
Okay.
the same application to act as trusted and act as target.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. However, you can
Okay.
have multiple trusted and multiple target applications. Let's
Okay.
let's
Okay.
say a multinational company have different
Uh-huh.
HRMS system located all across the world, right?
Huh. Yes.
Now, the people who are joining from Canada or US location, the HR is going to feed the data in the US HRMS system. Now, the people who are going to
Yes.
join from the Asia Pacific region, the HR is going to use the Asia Pacific HRMS system in order to feed the data. Now, since our OIM is a centrally managed device, a centrally managed system or server, it is going to fetch all the data from all the HRMS systems which are located across the world.
Okay.
Okay, so we can have multiple trusted source, but the same trusted source or the same source cannot be act as a trusted as well as target at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, I hope I have cleared your doubt.
Ha ha. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so far I have a HRMS system, I have a OIM, and I have defined the HRMS system as the trusted source. And there is a
Okay.
reconciliation running as trusted source reconciliation. So far we reached
Okay.
to this point. Okay. Now
Yes.
there are this is the things. So far we have done this, right?
Yes.
Now there are something called minimal privileges in an organization. Like, what are all the minimum access or a privilege a user required when he or she joins the company? Like, let's
Okay.
say you were five people. Okay, Venkat,
Okay.
Raman, Sundar, and there are two more people. You five people
Okay.
are best friends. Now you joined the same company. Now, if you notice one thing on the day one when you join the company, you will get your ID. You should have a
Yeah.
mailbox. You have a mailbox.
Yes.
You have the access to company data. You have the
Yes.
access to company website in order to fill up the timesheet and all. And you have the access
Ha.
to generic places, like you have the access to cafeteria, you have the access to
Yes.
training room and all, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now,
Yes. Yes.
now if I consider something like how all these things are managing, because on a daily basis there are thousands of employees who are joining a particular company.
Yes.
How they are doing all these things within such a small span of time? How they are providing five
Uh,
places access to all those users?
so all these five things will be grouped, and then they're providing this access to those groups by default.
Okay.
Suppose when the user is created,
Mm-hmm.
by default they are providing some application access.
Okay. So you are correct.
We used to call this as a default provisioning.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's the minimal privileges. That what
Okay,
are all the places a company wants a user to have the access, right?
okay,
So this is a minimal
yes,
privileges which every company has defined his own minimal
okay,
privileges, like ID creation, mailbox
okay,
creation, and all these things. Now,
okay,
now we are going to look into the things called roles. Like you said just now, that we are going to group all the things and then we are going to map
yes,
all those things to the resources and all. So
yes, yes,
there is a concept of roles. I think you are aware about role. We use roles to create and manage the record of a collection of users to whom you want to permit access to common functionalities, such as access right, roles or permission. So
okay.
basically,
So normally, Amit here, I, I mean, actually, I know that roles is somewhat different when compared to the lower version and higher version of OIM.
mm-hmm,
We used to call a role as, suppose if you want the if you want a particular application access,
mm-hmm,
that is some XYZ. In that, here we used to call roles as read access for that application or write access for that application. Or
mm-hmm.
suppose if that user wants the circle rights,
Okay.
in in India we'll be having different types of circles. So if the user wants a particular circle,
Mm-hmm.
he'll select a particular role.
Okay.
This thing we used to call as roles. In simply, we used to call read access, write access, or read and write access. These things will be called as roles here.
To the applications which OIM is managing,
Yes,
right? That if
yes,
you
yes,
have a role read access for a application A, then the user automatically get the access of reading the data from the target application,
yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
in 11G R1 and R2 onwards, there is a new concept which has been introduced, that is entitlement.
Okay,
Okay. So basically,
okay.
if someone is going to ask you a role can be defined
Uh-huh.
in two ways. Let's say you have a system admin role in OIM, which can approve a
Yes,
user, which can create a user, which can approve a request and
yes,
all these things, right?
yes, yes.
There are something called authorization policy in 11G R1 onwards. Is this also there in
Okay.
9I?
No, no authorization.
No.
Authorization policy in the sense, can you please
Authorization policy
brief
means,
about that so that?
yeah, yeah, sure. Authorization policy means that what are all the things you can do inside the OIM server itself. I'm not talking about the target system and all. What are all the
Okay,
things you can do inside the OIM itself? Like you can approve a request, like you can
okay,
provision a user, you can create a user, and all these things. So basically,
okay,
authorization policy defines that a user, what are all the privilege a user should have inside the OIM server,
okay,
what
okay,
are
got it.
operations he can perform inside OIM itself. So basically,
Okay,
a role, there are two different kinds of perspective. If you are standing in OIM itself, if I have given you the role to create a user, then you can create a user inside OIM.
yes,
Now, if I give you the privilege of write access to the target system, it's a DB system which is managed using OIM, then again it's called the same. You have the role to create a user inside DB, right?
okay,
But
yes, yes,
but if I want to refer the role which was defined inside target system by standing in OIM server itself, then we refer that particular role in OIM as an entitlement.
okay,
It's basically the perspective. If you are standing in OIM and you are referring to the
okay,
role of the target system, then inside OIM we are going to refer the term not as role but as entitlement.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is one of the
Okay.
difference which come after 9i, because there are several places. If you use the same term role, then the user might,
Huh.
you want to segregate or you want to differentiate the role and entitlement. Entitlements which gives access to the servers, like read access,
Okay.
write access, and all these things. Roles which
Okay.
gives access to some of the operations which can only be done inside OIM server.
Okay.
Now this part is clear up to that?
Ah, clear, clear.
Okay. So in the role, so you so up to role, that part is clear. Now in the role, there
Yes.
is something called a rule membership.
Okay.
Rule membership. If you divide the word rule membership, then membership means you are a member of a particular role, right?
Yes.
You are a member of, be it a role or application or anything. Membership is a generic term. Now, if I use the word rule, it's some kind of logic which you have developed. Now, rule membership means that you have developed some logic in order to assign a particular user to a particular role. If the user met this condition, then as per the rule membership, the user will automatically assign to a particular role.
Okay.
Up to that clear?
Yes, yes, clear.
So basically rule membership upon which condition a role should automatically assign to a user.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Amit, here
Mm-hmm.
in the last slide,
Mm-hmm.
about the rule membership, what I know about this rule membership is, suppose in the earlier concept we have discussed about the default provisioning, right?
Yes.
In the default provisioning, we used to provide some particular roles in that application only.
Okay.
So that rule will be designed in this rule membership, right?
Mm-hmm. But here in
Suppose at the initial stage, yes, yes, tell me.
here in OIM 11G R1 onwards, this rule membership means that let's say a role have the access to do all these things inside OIM. Okay. Now you want to
Okay,
automatically add some few users to inside this particular role, then you can define some rule. Like let's say uh, when you joined the company, you
yes,
along with your 5 friends, the HR is going to mark you, or HR has given you a designation like new joinee. Okay.
okay,
Now
okay,
once you 5 people have reconciled to OIM server, then with this particular new designation, I have defined a role, that minimal privileges role. If
okay,
and I have a role called minimal privileges role. Inside that role,
okay,
there is a rule membership. I have defined if a user has designation equal to new joinee, then this role should be automatically assigned to the user.
okay,
Okay, this is called rule membership.
okay,
Now,
okay.
up to this part is clear.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it will be more and more clear in the next slides, that how all the
Oh,
things are connected to each other. Okay,
okay, okay,
now we were talking about provisioning. Provisioning is the process of feeding the data to the target system. Means the data is flowing from OIM to the target
to
system,
target up.
right?
Okay,
It's something
yes,
called the creation of user account in the target database or in the target Unix server or the target AD,
yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Okay, so it's basically the feeding of data from OIM to the target system. Now, as we discussed a few times back, that OIM is going to provision the users to the target system using minimal privileges,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
these Outlook, these mailboxes, these company website and all a certain kind of system. They are using some database, they are using some LDAP servers and all in order to fetch the detail of a particular user, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, how we should provision the users automatically?
Okay.
Up, we were talking about this. Once the user reconciled to OIM, he should have the access to all these three, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes. Yes.
now, if I talk about how we can automate the process of provisioning, then there is a new concept which is called access policies. Using access policy, we can automate the process of provisioning. Okay?
Okay.
Now what I am going to do, just see this. Access policies are a list of roles and resources to be provisioned or deprovisioned.
Okay.
Now it is used to automate the process of provisioning. Now let's say
Okay.
just now I have created a minimal privilege role or default privileges
Okay.
role inside OIM. Now
Okay.
in the HRMS system, I have designed that whenever a new employee is joined to the organization, the designation of that particular employee should set to new joinee. Now, when this thing is reconciled to OIM in this there is a role called minimal privileges role. In this role, I have created a role membership that whenever the designation is equal to new joinee, this particular role should automatically assign to the user. Okay.
Okay.
Now the user have the role new join. Now the user have the role minimal privileges role inside OIM. Right. Now
Yes.
I have created a access policy. Inside access policy, I have defined a condition. If the user have the role minimal privileges role,
Okay.
then OIM should automatically assign the user to all these target system.
Okay.
So using access policy, we are achieving this thing. Means access policy
Okay.
will check the condition that whether the user have that role
Okay.
or not. If the user have that role and the user is newly assigned, the access policy didn't run that for user, then OIM will invoke the access policy. And when the access policy is invoked, OIM is going to provision the users to three different target systems which were defined as a part of access policy creation.
Okay.
So up to this clear?
Actually, I'm little bit confused about the access policy and the rule.
Rule membership.
Yes. Yes. Rule membership.
Okay. So basically a rule membership will give you access to a particular role inside the OIM.
Okay.
Okay. And as you know, in 11G R1 onwards, a role is always applicable to give the user to some sort of privileges inside OIM server itself. It doesn't give any privilege inside the target system.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
let's say you are a role of a you are a member of a approval team. Now, if I have given you the
Okay.
approval role to approve the request, request you can approve the request which are coming to you. And this thing you are doing
Yes.
inside OIM server itself.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is the role. Inside the role, we are defining some condition through which we can automate the process of provisioning to those roles only using
Okay.
rule membership.
Okay.
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 Now using
Okay.
access policy, what I am going to do, I have certain. resources over which I want default access to all the users like mailbox, ID and all. Okay.
Okay.
So what I have done, I have created an access policy. In the access policy, I have defined all those resources that if
Okay.
a user have this role in OIM, then boss, you should provision that user to the target system automatically.
Okay.
So this is called access policy,
Okay.
where you are giving the access to the target system based on some conditions which were defined inside OIM.
Okay.
Now this is clear?
Yes, yes, it's clear.
Okay, so access policies are the list of roles and resources to be provisioned or deprovisioned. Okay, now
Okay.
we are moving to the next slide. So let's recap. So far
Okay.
there is a HRMS system. From the HRMS system, we are bringing the data to OIM, user creation and updation, all are happening using trusted reconciliation. Okay, and I have three different target system like mailbox, Unix server, and AD. So far I have
Okay.
created a minimal privileges role. Okay,
Okay.
now I have a user ABC. Along with
Okay.
that, that user has been assigned to the minimal privileges role, and there is a access policy, minimal access grant
Okay.
policy, which is
Okay.
giving the which is helping OIM in order to automate the process of provisioning or deprovisioning using access policy.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
that by default
Okay.
to which resources the user should have the access. In the first place, I talked
Okay.
about it will be much more clear. Let's say five people have joined the company, and as you know that no one is going to manually provision all those users to the target system.
Yes. Yes.
So all this task is automated using the access policy.
Okay.
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 So as I mentioned earlier, OIM is provisioning the user to the target system. So provisioning,
Yes.
you understand, provisioning is the feeding of data from OIM to the target system.
To target. Yes. Yes.
But in order to do so, OIM must have the address of the target system. Do you agree with me?
Amit, your voice got break.
Okay, now it's
This
audible.
last point, your yes, yes, it's audible now.
Okay. So basically, provisioning is the feeding of data from OIM to the target system, right?
Yes. Yes.
But in order to do so, OIM must have the address of the target system like
Yes.
host details, port details, IP
I.
address details,
Ye-
and all, right?
Yes. Yes.
So in OIM, there is a new concept which is called IT resource. So in the IT resource,
Yes.
OIM stores all the configuration data of a actual target system
Okay.
while establishing the connection with the target system. Okay?
Okay.
So if OIM wants to reach to the target system AD and want to establish a valid communication channel, he is going to utilize the
Yes.
IT resource where all the AD host detail, port details, user ID, password, all these things are defined over there.
Yes. Yes.
So up to this part is clear, right?
Yes. This is clear.
Okay. Now using IT resource, OIM will be able to reach the target system. But as we know, OIM and AD both are completely different platform, right?
Yes.
It's basically, if I consider, it's like a Japanese person wants to talk with an Italian guy.
Okay.
So if you want to communicate, how will they do that? There should be some common
We
medium,
need a
translator,
yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So if I talk in terms about OIM, then the task of translation is done or achieved using the concept of connectors.
Okay.
Okay, like let's say you have a database. Now in
Okay.
OIM is completely built upon on Java. Now database is
Yes.
completely built upon on SQL queries, tables and all, right?
Yes.
If
Yes.
OIM
Yes.
sends
Yes.
some Java data, the SQL server or the database is not able to understand what OIM wants to do or what OIM wants to instruct us. So using connectors, we are instructing the connector that boss delete this user from the target system. Now based on my requirement, connector is converting or translating my Java language to the SQL
Okay.
language which the database can easily understand.
Okay.
And he is sending a delete user from USR table where user login equal to ABC.
Okay.
Okay, so this task of provisioning, reconciliation, deprovisioning, all these things happened using the connectors. So I hope I am making you
Okay.
clear, right?
Yes. Yes. Very clear.
Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
So connectors provide the channel. Connector act as a translator between OIM and different target system. Connector provides the
Okay.
channel for communication. It will help you in order to communicate with the target system. Okay.
Okay.
Now we were talking about application instances so far. So
Yes.
in OIM, we are going to represent the target system using application instance.
Okay.
Let's say a target system is a mainframe, IBM mainframe system, or let's say if a
Okay.
target system is a database system, then
Okay.
in OIM, let's say I have 5 different database which have integrated to OIM server and 5 different applications. This is easily possible. A company may have many database servers, right? Now
Yes.
I
Yes.
want to manage 5 different database servers using OIM. Five belongs to different applications inside the company internal only. Okay. So all these
Okay.
things have different names, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now using application instance, we are going to represent each of the database inside OIM.
Okay.
Okay. So application instance is a combination of IT resource and resource object.
Okay.
Is it clear to you?
Yes. Yes.
It is a provisionable entity, means the end user can provision themselves to the application instance. And once you are going to provision yourself to the application instance, it means your entry is going to be created in the target system also.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, a resource object is the virtual representation of a target system. If I talk about resource
Yes.
object, then it's a virtual representation of the target system, like how many tables, roles, attributes, all these things are defined inside that particular target database.
Uh, can you
Let's
repeat it once again?
let's say I have a database. In this database, I have two different tables. One table is
Okay.
for keeping track of all the user details, that is user details table. The other table is
Okay.
of the permission or access details, like it's keeping track
Okay.
of to which users, to which resources the user have the access to the database, or to which roles the user
Okay.
have the access. Now if I
Okay.
want to represent this scenario inside OIM, that boss, I have 5 different columns inside the user details table, and I have 2 different or 5 different roles inside the database. So all these things are represented using resource object.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
so these are the basic terminologies which have been used in OIM. Apart from this, there are something called entitlement, which you are already aware, which I have already talked about it. Now, apart
yes.
from
Yes.
entitlement, also there are approval workflow, and I don't think so that we need any discussion over that in the overview part. Are you clear with the approval workflow or policy that
Yes.
for
Yes.
which purpose it is going to be worked?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is the big picture. Just see this animation and ask me if you have any doubt.
Okay.
So any doubts, Venkat?
Ha, ha, I'm seeing the animation.
Okay, sure.
Up to here, I don't have any doubt.
No doubt, right? You are aware about the
Yes.
evaluate user policy and all.
Ha.
It's basically a scheduler which is going to invoke the access policy. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Now, let's see some consoles in Oracle Identity Manager. That what are all the consoles available in 11G R2 patch set 3.
Okay.
Okay. So in consoles, we have self-service console, which is basically
Okay.
the host or the which is basically the URL for this particular console is slash identity, which is I think which is common to
Okay.
9i also.
Yes. Yes.
Then I have a console for system admin.
Okay.
Then we have design console.
Yes.
Then we have WebLogic console.
Yes.
Then we have EM console. Are you aware about EM console?
No. No. No.
Okay, then we will talk about the EM console. So first let's
Okay.
start with the self-service console. So this is
Okay.
the patch set 3 self-service console look like. So we have various things. In the top, you are able to see three different tabs: self-service, compliance, and manage.
Okay.
When you click on manage, you will be able to manage the users, the organization,
Okay.
the roles, and all these things. Okay.
Okay.
In the compliance tab, there is a new feature introduced in 11G R2 patch set 3, that is Oracle Identity Analytics has been integrated to OIM 11G R2 patch set 3. Analytics, I mean to say that
Okay.
certifications, identity audits,
Okay.
segregation of
Okay.
duties, these are the new concept which has been introduced here. Okay.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
information will contain all your details. My access will
Okay.
show you all your details, like to which servers you have access and all these things. Now, request access.
Okay.
When you click on the request access, basically you will then the system will show you the catalog page, and you can either request for yourself or you can request for other. So there are two
Okay.
options here: request for self or request for other. Now
Okay.
there is a thing called track request. Track request means you can track the earlier request you have raised. Okay.
Okay.
Provisioning task. Basically, provisioning task is used in disconnected resources where what OIM will do, OIM at the last OIM will notify the service team ki boss you have to, the approval has been done. Now you have to carry a laptop or carry a computer and set up that particular computer to the new employee who have been joined to this particular project, right?
Yes.
Now the OIM will notify the service team in their inbox. Okay. And once they did their job or once they completed their job, they come to provisioning task and they are going to
Okay.
manually fulfill and complete the task, so that OIM will
Okay.
also understand that the service team has done his part
Okay.
and the request will be closed.
Okay.
Up to that part clear?
It's like an email notification which triggers to the service team, right?
Yeah, it's an
For an
email.
example.
Yeah, for an example, it's an email notification. And now, once you have done your task, that is, you have set up the computer in the new joining place, then you need to
Okay.
inform the OIM also ki bot the task which you have assigned me, I have completed that task, right? So that
Okay.
the OIM will also understand that the machine has been allocated, because
Okay.
OIM cannot look into the system place, look into the new joiner place that the machine has been set up, right?
Okay.
So the
Yes. Yes.
service team has to come to the provisioning task here, and there
Okay.
they need to manually complete the task. You'll see the two different options. Okay.
Okay.
Now there
Okay.
is a thing called certification.
Okay.
Certification means that let's say a user have 500, let's say 500 employees have access to that, but access to a server, Unix server. Now certification means uh, it's a auditing kind of things which will help the certified user that all the 500 users still needs the access, yes or no. Just certify it. If not, revoke the
Okay.
access.
Okay.
These are basically used in SOX compliance and all.
Okay.
Okay. Now in the pending approval, you will see the pending approval and all,
Okay.
that which request needs your approval. Okay.
Okay.
Now pending violation, it's a part of the identity audit that let's say if a user have the access to the time card, he should not have the access to approve the time card, right?
Yes.
So if a user have both the access to edit the time card as well as he can approve the time card, then these are some illegal access, right? So here we
Yes.
should
Yes.
maintain some sort of audits. So basically identity audits is going to help us in order to develop segregation of duties, and it will help us that
Okay.
if a user have both the entitlement access, he will inform the owner that boss, these two users have access to both the places. So this is a high risk
Okay.
and you have to work on that. Then the owner
Okay.
either revoke one of the request, one of the entitlement or one of the access from the two users, or
Okay.
they can accept the risk that boss, it's fine with me, something like that.
Okay.
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 Now
Okay.
this is completely about self-service console.
Okay.
Let's go to the sysadmin console. So sysadmin console is basically the same thing. First, in the
Okay.
policy, you are able to see two different policies, approval and access policy. Now, in the approval policy, you are able to see approval policy because when you upgrade your system from 11G R to PS1 or PS2 to PS3, you have some existing approval policy and workflow defined already. So,
Yes.
In order to support those features also, you are able to see these options. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Now in the provisioning configuration, you are able to see that reconciliation, form designer and all. In the system
Yes. Yes.
entity, all these things are, you are familiar with this thing, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now once system admin console is done, we will move into the design console. So this is how the design console looks like.
Yes.
Now let's go into the WebLogic console. That from where you can start and stop the servers. You can see that
Yes.
how much memory it's consuming and all these things. Now let's go into the
Okay.
EM console. EM console basically gives you the, and it gives you the control for managing all the servers which have been defined inside the OIM server, like which clusters are up, which clusters are down and all. Let's see if you can see
Okay.
here. The status is down. It means the server is down. Along with that, you will
Okay.
have lots of options available over here. Like in the SOA, if you want to deploy a new composite, then you can utilize the SOA here. That from
Okay.
here only you can directly deploy a new workflow inside the OIM server.
Okay.
All these things we are going to do using Enterprise Manager console. So I will
Okay.
go into the details of all these things in the later session. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So in this module, we have understand the need and the advantage of Oracle Identity Manager.
Yes.
We understood the key terminologies used in OIM like reconciliation, provisioning, access policy and all.
Yes.
We understand what are all the different consoles available in Oracle Identity Manager, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Up to this
Correct.
part is clear for you, right?
Yes. Yes. It's clear.
Okay. So in the next module, we'll look into the different things.
Okay.
So do you have any questions for me?
No. No. As of now, no questions.
Okay. So I just want to advise you one thing that whenever
Yes.
you
Tell me.
you work on a particular tool or any particular product, just always try to map all those concepts with the real life example. Then what will happen?
Okay.
It will be good for you in order to understand all those things in an easy manner.
Okay.
Okay. Don't
Okay.
always go with the critical terminologies like what is a application instance. It is a combination of IT resource in this. What is a connector? Connector is a thing which will help OIM
Container. Yes.
container and all. So don't go with that definitions. I always recommend you to
Okay.
always to try to map whatever things you are learning with the definitions. Try to map all those things with the real life example, so that it will
Okay.
also help you in order to retain all those things for a long time.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So thanks,
Okay.
Venkat.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Amit.
Okay.
It's a good
So
session.